Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Real Talk No Gimmicks with Haley, Demi, and Aaron. We're so glad you're joining us here for today's episode. It's going to be a really good one. So just stay strapped, stay tuned. We're so glad to have you guys here listening with us. It's been a long day, I apologize. But,
long day.
Yeah. But we appreciate your presence. We love you guys no matter what. We appreciate all of your support. So just keep on listening. And without further ado, I'm going to give it to Demi so she can tell us what we're talking about.
Yes.
So go ahead.
So this week's episode is all about separate and distinct. Just living life as a Christian and handling parents who are actually protective and just not viewing them as the enemy. So, yeah.
Where do we even start with this one? It may not seem like a really heavy topic, but we have a lot to say, believe it or not. We just don't know where to get started.
We don't know where to start. I guess let's just rip it off, the Band-Aid off now. Let's just start with the parents.
So,
shout out to all our parents that are watching with their kids. We love you. We love you. First, let's just give a disclaimer.
Yeah.
I'm looking at our parents right here.
We love you.
We love you, and we understand what the word says. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Cue the church music.
Yes.
We know the Bible says in the 10 Commandments to honor our mother and father. So that's why we're giving your kids tools. Young people right now, we're giving them tools on how to honor you. But it also says to provoke. Do not provoke your children.
Lest they be discouraged.
Lest they be So, children,
Yes.
honor your parents.
Yeah.
Parents, y'all know what y'all be doing.
Exactly.
All right. So, how do we handle the parents?
How do we handle the parents?
Yeah.
Let's start with our ages. So, at this rate, we're college students.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have moved out. I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it just feels like there's just this presence all around known as our parents.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we feel like we don't get to necessarily do the things we want to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we know that they love us. We know that they want absolutely nothing bad to happen to us. And that's great. That is an absolute privilege and a blessing to have parents like that.
Yeah.
But what do we do about parents that just cannot seem to get off of your back, right? So, Demi, do you want to talk about...
Her face is like,
Yeah.
run me the mic.
I don't know if I'm the right person for this, but...
Again, we
honor
love
my
our parents.
I love you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Pray,
That's
just,
always
man.
Just pray. And based on personal experience, I don't want to say deal with it, because I dealt with it and that never ended well. But along with prayer, just be meek. And I find myself being very meek. Being meek is probably one of my superpowers, because I ask for some things. I request for some things, I sometimes stand up for myself in a respectful manner. And let's just say it doesn't go my way. So from that, I pray. I just stand there, be understanding, by the end of the day, I just tell myself, my parent is only looking out for me, okay? And I love that, I love that. So handling parents that may not understand at times, you just gotta take a step back and be like, you know what, there's no point in arguing, there's no point in yelling. You already said your case, your parent or parents said their cases as well. So just keep pushing and, be meek. I can't think of anything else.
That
so,
was good.
That was good.
That was really good. I liked how you said be understanding, because I think in addition to prayer and y'all, Jesus is my best friend. I be talking to him all day. I'm like, God, now you heard what he said. And he tried my whole life, but I'm trusting you. So I think being understanding is really important, because it's easy for us to acknowledge our feelings and what we don't approve of, what we don't like, how we would even do things differently in the future. But also you have to take in consideration the state of the world that we live in, not just talking about COVID and them adapting to the fact that we're driving, going to school, college, different things like that. It's probably a lot. I feel like the big major things that kind of you transition from being a child, a little kid, to an adult, early, like, late teenager, it all happens, like, at once almost. Yeah. So I'm quite sure that it's kind of hard for parents to grasp that, especially when they know that you're a young lady, young man of faith, with goals and aspirations. They just want to protect you as much as they can because they don't want what God's placed inside of you to do in the earth to fail or go to waste because they think something's going to happen to you in the process of you living your life. But I think, too, is also acknowledging your own feelings. Because, and this applies not just to parents, but later we're going to discuss, like, living a separate and distinct life and in different avenues. And it's okay to sometimes wonder, like, when is it your time to live? Like, we talked about this, like, heavily in the car ride here. And I think that what's helped me is to acknowledge how you're feeling and why. Like, soul searching is so important, like getting down to why you feel that way, and bringing that and laying that at God's feet. And I say acknowledge your feelings because the Bible doesn't say, like, it says be angry and sin not, but sin not. It doesn't say don't ever be angry. It doesn't say rebuke. It says rebuke the enemy. It doesn't say rebuke being sad. It tells us to lay all our cares at his feet because he cares for us. But it doesn't ever say that it's a sin to be sad. It's a sin to feel. It's a sin to ask questions. So just, I would say, when dealing with parents in different situations, just be understanding, as Demi said, but then also acknowledge your own feelings, because if you bottle it up, as we talked about in the last,
it's gonna backfire.
It's gonna backfire, and you'll explode at the wrong time with the wrong people.
I think both are just, like, really good points. I know we've talked about our parents and, you know, what their intentions are, and I just want to say, like, I think our parents raised us, like, magnificently, because I think a lot of things we've learned, the fact that, honestly, that we're even still alive is because of our parents. They've taught us, like, really good things, how to be safe, how to, you know, have conversations, just, like, how to live, you know. Our parents are great for that, and not everyone can say that they have that, so we don't want to be like, you know, our parents never let us do anything.
No. I thank you so much. I thank my parents. If you're watching this, thank you for every sacrifice. Thank you for dealing with my attitude when you told me no, and I was like, I'm about to move out. I've done that once. Like, I was like, I'm about to move out, and I looked online at the price to, like, rent, and I was like, all right, never mind, I guess I'm just gonna do it.
Right, no, like, and it starts early, because I've run away from home before. Did I run to another city? No. I went to the gate, turned my butt right back around, but it still happened. Like, even as a little kid, you get frustrated.
Oh, yeah.
And that's okay, and I liked how you pointed out acknowledging your own feelings, because you're human. You're allowed to feel things. You shouldn't be like, maybe I shouldn't have gotten, like, angry. If you do feel upset about something, it's okay to be upset. But, of course, address it the correct way. We don't want to be yelling and screaming and punching each other, but sometimes that does happen. So I think for both children and parents, it's important to communicate and really understand where you're coming from, because I know parents and their kids, they grow up in different times. We're all going through different things, different experiences. So I think it's really important to sit and listen, not only sit and listen to what, like, the sentence that they're saying, but really be like, wow, like, they're really going through a hard time, and, like, the things that are going on around them, like, it's a lot. I mean, it's especially changed now that we've come out of a pandemic. Like, things are different, and I think people overall need to be a little bit easier on themselves and need to be a little bit more understanding, because a lot of trauma and things have stemmed from that pandemic itself. And then hearing the news and everything that's going on, like, we all have a reason to be upset and to be really in our feelings, right? So I really think, I like how you said acknowledge your feelings, because they're there. Again, don't bottle them up. I think a lot of times what we need to do in these situations is to really communicate and really sit and evaluate why we're feeling these things, because there's nothing wrong with feeling things, you know, but when you sit and you really understand where things are coming from, it's easier to address them, and it's easier to get at the root of the problem and fix it.
Right, but I have a question, though. And I'm not saying this from personal experience, it's just a curiosity. But what if you address your feelings in a proper manner, and yet your parent may not understand? What if they backlash? What if, you know? Like, how would you handle that?
That's a hard one.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
The first thing I always do after whether they understood where I was coming from or not is, and this is going to sound so churchy, but I go in my room. And, people have always been like, Haley, you always, you just, run away and you, lock yourself in my room. I lock myself in my room to eliminate noise.
Right.
When I disagree with my parents, the first thing I do is, Abba, Father, in heaven. I am this close. And I'm just be like, God, I can't take it. In the moment, I'm like, I can't take this anymore. They don't get it. They're not listening. And, you can't discipline, I guess, your parents, but Heavenly Father can.
Yeah.
Right. He knows how to strike the nerves that we don't even know your parents have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He gives them revelation. And, I don't know about everybody's parents, that maybe your parents are good about apologizing.
We love you.
We love you.
Some
parents apologize, some people don't. Some parents don't. Some parents cook you a meal and they felt sorry,
exactly.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
you're right.
They do it through actions.
right.
Yeah.
And God, just like God deals with each and every one of us as children and gives us instructions, He also deals with our parents because He entrusted them with our lives.
You're right.
To birth us, to look after us, and then also to help guide us into that purpose. So they have that responsibility, and He's their overseer, not just ours as well.
Right.
So going to Him, it gives me comfort because even if I don't understand, I'm like, my God's gonna get you because you was out of pocket. And then also seeing things from their perspective, I think I'm able to receive even no's, or I don't feel comfortable with you doing that, or even, I'm able to receive it better if I have an explanation. And I think this is a good tip for parents. Kids, telling a kid no because I said so is not always the answer.
Right.
I see if you tell your kid, it's not time for you to have snacks right now. We're going to have dinner soon. And you can't have the goldfish. Why? Because I said so. That's logical.
Yeah.
You said it's dinner time almost. I can't have the goldfish. There's no further explanation needed.
Yeah.
But if I'm 19 and I want to go on a trip with my friends that I've known for a long time or whatever, and you're telling me no, because I said so is not enough for me.
It's hard to understand.
I need you to explain, okay, so on the news, I saw that there were people snatching young people that look like you, and I personally don't feel comfortable. I'm able to say, okay, let me step back from how I'm feeling. And if I were my parents who have invested so much time, effort, money, prayers into their child, and there's somebody out there in that area or just in the world in general that can danger them, and I can't help them at that point, how would I feel? Okay, I understand. May I still not agree? Of course. I'd probably still be like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but I still want to hang out with my
Yeah.
But at least in that moment, I'm like, okay, I can understand. And I think
Right.
that's a good way to deal with parents.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I really love how you said in the beginning how you just run to your room and just pray. Okay, so I do the same thing, but just a little bit differently. So yeah, I pray too. I go to my room, but the main reason why I run to my room is to control my anger. Because the minute we may have a heated argument, okay, personally, in any argument or situation where things get heated, I try so hard not to yell. Because the minute I yell, the minute I say something that will hurt your feelings, you wish I wasn't your friend. You wish I wasn't your daughter. So I try so hard to contain it, and once everything's done, I just go immediately to my room. I'm quiet. I shut up, and that helps. Because let's just say you're in a situation and you say something that's just so hurtful.
Yeah. You can't take it back.
You can't take it back. So not only am I protecting myself, my feelings, but I'm also protecting my parent. Yeah. I'm also protecting, who I am as a Christian, as a daughter, as a sister, as a friend as well. So just being a... Did you hear
my
that?
stomach.
I was not going to say nothing until she lied.
We
are
hungry. Hardworking.
Okay.
No, keep going.
Keep going.
They need to hear what your
little
point.
ambience, why not?
Little background music. Elevator music.
What's all I say? Okay.
So
You were
sorry.
talking about going to your room and protecting not just yourself.
Okay. I'm sorry that happened.
No, you're good.
No, mine was grumbling too early.
Okay. So not only not only am I protecting myself, but I'm protecting my mom and like who I am as an individual, a Christian, a daughter, a sister, yada, yada, yada. So, and that's why I love meekness, because it's self-control. Not only do you get to understand people, but you get to control your actions that could potentially hurt someone else, you know? So, yeah, just keep being meek, you know? Keep being meek. And I also feel like no matter what happens, there's always going to be people that will never understand. No matter how hard you explain, no matter how much you like tell them why this is better for you, because the only person that knows what's right for you is God and like be your parents. But after a certain point in time, eventually it's going to be you. Eventually, only you know what's right for you. You know, once you're grown and like once you have everything figured out. And I feel like with what's going on right now, you know, like we want to do things. We want to live our lives. We're not going to do anything stupid. Like we're not going to drink or smoke or like do who knows what, because our parents raised us well. But when it comes to like certain instances that might seem normal or like just safe and parents may never understand, then how do you deal with that? You know, like you want to do something. Again, it's nothing dangerous. You know, like you searched it on the news, you talked it out with your doctor or whatever, and still it's safe.
Yeah, you did every.
It's safe. Yeah. It's heck maybe righteous for some. Like your parents may never get it. So how do you deal with that?
Man, that's hard. How do you deal with it? It depends on what it is. It depends on what I'm trying to do or what the circumstance is. Yeah. Sometimes I look at it like, okay, they don't get it. Like, I want to hang out with these two, and they're freaking out because whatever. But then some instances I'm like, and I think this clarity comes in prayer, because I'm like, God, I want to live my life. And I was sharing this with them earlier. Sometimes you just like, hold on. Yeah. Sometimes your parents are God's voice in the flesh.
I was just going to mention.
Yeah. And instead of him, not that and I'm not saying this, that God is just cowardly and shy and he's like, all right, I need you to do my dirty work. Like, he can come and talk to you himself. He does not need a third-party representative. But sometimes, like we were saying, your parents are your earthly parents. They're just like Jesus had earthly parents. Earthly parents, not because God can handle watching Jesus. Right. But, he had the fleshly representative. So sometimes, like, even in high school or middle school, I joke now with, like, some relatives and how strict my parents were about me wearing, like, halter tops and crop tops. And I used to be, like, it could have been anything. Makeup. It was crop tops. It was boys. Just different things. And I'm like, man, my parents are so strict and mean. But sometimes it's just God, like, sweetie, you got to hold on. I got a purpose for you that right now what you're trying to do, you're trying to be going this place, hanging out here and doing that, and I need you to just be still. I need you to just hold your horses. I know the trip is looking nice. I know you went to work, you got your paycheck lined up, did everything that you felt necessary so that you would be eligible to go and do what you want to do, but just wait. And I think having perspective is how I handle it. Because in the flesh, it's like, I'm grown. I am almost 20. I can make decisions, but God's like, but you're not. Because I'm not done molding you. I don't want you to miss what I have next because you're so caught up on what you feel like you're missing out.
That was really good. I don't even know what to say. I was like, she took the words out of my mouth, especially when you were talking about how God can speak through our parents. And a lot of times it can be hard to recognize that, especially when they're giving you the answer that you don't want to hear. It's just immediate, oh my gosh, my parents just like are on me all the time about everything. But, at the end of the day, they're there to protect you. And you never know. Maybe God is trying to protect you as well by speaking through them. And I think a lot of times it's just about stepping back and really analyzing the situation and just understanding. And back to what you were talking about with dealing with your parents, like how you were saying, like going in your room and things like that. I think for parents, it's important to maybe try to figure out what those actions are. Like maybe when you go into your room, they see it as like, oh, an attitude. But like you were saying, you're just trying to clear your mind. So if there are parents who are listening, again, observe your child, like try to figure out where these things are coming from, because again, like what Demi was pointing out about trying to protect them, you know, your parents may see it as like, oh, they don't want to talk and they're having an attitude and they're slamming things and this, that, and the third thing, but you don't want to lash out your anger onto them.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important because, I mean, we're working on ourselves every day. I personally have a big temper problem. I mean, I get heated, like, really easily.
Blood boils.
But, like, you literally feel, like, hot inside.
Yeah.
Like, but we've been raised to not talk back to our parents, even though we see people do it all the time. We're like, how do you get away with
your
that?
parents. Don't do
They're,
that.
like, actually, like, cursing out their parents.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do
Kids, you won't catch me.
How do you
Yeah,
do
you won't
that?
catch me doing that.
You will not catch me doing that because I do know at the end of the day they're out there to protect me, and like I said, not everybody has that. People get into such bad situations because they don't have a foundation. They don't have people to look up to, you know, like how we do. So I really think at the end of the day, of course, honor your parents, but in return, they should honor you as well.
Yeah.
And to just come from a place of understanding, you know, really analyze the situation, just I think communication is just a really important tool for both parents and children. To whoever's listening, you know, communication is key because, again, times are changing. Things may get us riled up now that they didn't before, so, you know, it's important to come from a place of understanding and really communicate.
Yeah.
So,
That's really good.
And I have one last point. It's quick. I know I said earlier how the only person that knows what's best for them is, like, you yourselves once you're grown up, like, once you have a family and all that stuff. I just wanted to add on to that with a story, I guess. Someone told me, like, how Jesus, he honored his parents, but at the same time, he honored God. Because, like, obviously he had a role, you know, with the crucifixion and preaching. And, like, I know there's a certain scenario where his parents did not understand. His whole family did not understand. So what's my point? My point is, let's just say God put something in your heart and your family, even your parents, may never understand. And they tell you to do something else. I'm not saying be a rebel, no. I am saying be respectful, but at the same time, be respectful of what God has put in your heart, because this is coming from personal experience, so that's why I'm just saying it out loud. So for those of you who feel like you have something to do, like there's something that God wants you to do, even though no one else may see it, just remember, keep going, keep pushing, and in due time, your family, your parents, they will see it.
and they'll come around.
And they'll come around. Yeah. And that's beautiful about relationships. Like, even though right now they mean that, even though right now,
I'm sorry.
She's like,
no, because the way I rolled my R.
Yeah, I heard that. I was like, it just came. You were so eager to get it out.
Yeah,
like,
continue. You're doing good.
It's good. Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
No, I needed it. I'm laughing too. But even though your parents or your family, though they may never understand at that particular point in time, once they see God's work in you, they will come around. So
yeah, because God will share that same vision to them too.
Literally, you know. So yeah,
that's really good. I think to add on to that, like, every revelation is not everybody's business.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of things that, like, God speaks to me about that I don't even share. It's not because it's, like, bad or it's a bad news for the other person. It's just that, like, I saw a video. It was by Pastor Mike Todd on a clip of his sermon. Good. Yeah,
I clip on TikTok all the time.
A clip of his sermon called Marked, and he was saying the easiest thing to kill a king is in kid form. Meaning the easiest time to kill a dream, a vision, a business is when it's small. There's people that when we decided that God has put on our hearts to start this podcast, that I shared, you know, like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And they're like, so, like, how is that going to work? Like, are you sure you're going to do that? Like, remember the last thing you tried to do and it, like, failed? Like, are you sure, like, you know, you're going to invest in this? Like, and it was like, oh, so you're not, you can't see me living out this vision that I know, like, God is speaking to me about. But it was because it wasn't for them. There's even things, like, small things, like, I'm going to take this class, and even my parents were like, that's a lot. Like, and God is like, no, I need you to be in this room. I don't know. It could be for the teacher because they see me smile and the teacher is depressed. I don't know. It could be the smallest thing, and we may never know. But people around us, maybe because they just don't get it, they'll try to kill a vision or kill what God is saying, not because they're a hater, but because they just don't get it. Mm-hmm. And it's not, like you said, it takes a while for the world and people to catch up to things that have already been established in heaven.
Exactly.
Like, God has already written it down. He has the script laid out, and you start activating it, and people be like, that's weird. Like, no, that's not. And then eventually, culture, people pick up to like, oh, okay, now I get it, because it wasn't time yet. Yeah. It was still developing. So that was a good point.